सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Hello and welcome back to World 360. Today we're talking about three geopolitical issues. First, how China's interest in a river project in Bangladesh could spell bad news for India. Two, how Pakistan is taking a leaf from India's book with regard to buying oil from Russia. And three, the first leader-to-leader dialogue that was held between Australia and China since 2019. First up, the river project in Bangladesh. You may have heard of the Teesta River, a tributary of the Brahmaputra that flows through the Indian states of Sikkim and West Bengal before entering Bangladesh. Now, this river has been the source of much friction between India and Bangladesh over the years with regard to the appropriate allocation of water resources. In the 1980s, India and Bangladesh came to an agreement on the sharing of Teesta waters. India would receive 39% of the water and Bangladesh 36%, and the remaining 25% was unallocated. But reports have since called the deal half-hearted as it basically failed to be implemented. Since then, the issue of the Teesta water has persisted. Since water is a state subject in India, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has also been a key player. Even in domestic politics in Bangladesh, the Teesta River is a contentious issue. There have been allegations from Bangladeshi officials that water levels have fallen due to Indian irrigation projects. Here's where China comes in. Last month, China's ambassador to Bangladesh, Li Jiming, visited the Teesta River, where he made a bold statement by saying Chinese engineers could begin work on a $1 billion project to revive Bangladesh's Teesta River. We are here to explore the possibility of dredging the river. Our engineers are studying the condition in detail to ascertain the time frame of the project, and we are confident that the Teesta mega project can be launched very soon, Li had said. Here he was talking about a mega project which many assumed was dead in the water, pun intended. What does this project aim to do? Repair embankments, store water for the dry season, among other things. But since July 2020, when Bangladesh had first approached China for a loan for this project, it had been stalled. Reiterating his remarks, Li had said on 5th November again that China is ready to support Bangladesh in this mega project. But he added a caveat that perhaps Bangladesh is hesitant because of outside pressure. If the Bangladesh government is really determined to do it, China would take it under very positive consideration. But there is also some information which said that there might be some hesitation from Bangladesh side because of the outside pressure, Li had said. Was this a veiled reference to India? It's a good question to ask. A report by The Telegraph, which quotes unnamed sources in Dhaka, claimed Bangladesh had put the mega project on pause in 2020 following India's reservations about Chinese involvement. A source in Dhaka allegedly told the newspaper, "The Chinese will do anything to have their footprint here in Bangladesh. We all know that the Chinese are now wobbling in Sri Lanka, so they might be trying to create an impression that they can deliver what India can't." It's also important to mention that Li Jiming had last month said China had been reluctant to pursue the mega project regarding the Teesta River because of the sensitivity from the Bangladeshi side. Now on to our second issue of the day, Pakistan wanting to buy Russian oil. Sounds familiar, right? On Sunday night, Pakistan's Finance Minister Ishaq Dar said when he had visited the US last month, he told officials there that America cannot stop Pakistan from buying oil from Russia because its neighboring country India is also doing the same. He further said Pakistan was seeking a fuel import deal with Russia on terms similar to those agreed to by India.
उनको जो टर्म्स है उसके करीब हमें भी रशिया दे.
He also said that in the next few months, the Pakistani people can expect to see their government take important steps in favor of Pakistan in this regard. This also comes a few months after former Pakistani PM Imran Khan had in May praised India for buying discounted oil from Russia. So perhaps it's safe to say that there is a sense in Pakistan, be it the previous government or the current one, that India has successfully managed to buy discounted Russian oil in the interests of its people. Your next question might be, Why isn't Pakistan buying cheap Russian oil amid the Ukraine war, even when countries like China and India are taking full advantage of the situation? Well, an editorial from Pakistani newspaper Dawn from last month said it was because of technical and financial obstacles on the Pakistan side. Now, what are these obstacles? Pakistani energy analyst Asadullah Kamran has listed a few. He said, 1. Pakistan may not be in a position to test the patience of the US and other Western powers that have put sanctions on Russia. 2. Pakistan may irk the Arab countries if it starts buying Russia's Ural blend of crude oil over the Arab blend. And 3. There may not even be sufficient facilities in Pakistan to process Russian crude oil. Pakistani economist Ali Athar has also done an interesting cost-benefit analysis. He points out that though cheap Russian oil may give Pakistan temporary relief on its current account deficit, it would still be in debt, and the debt would continue to pile on in the years to come, albeit at a slower pace. Therefore, it will be interesting to see how Pakistan's finance minister intends on striking a deal with Russia for oil, and also what geopolitical effects could follow. Lastly, we're moving further east towards Cambodia, where Australian PM Anthony Albanese briefly met Chinese Premier Li Keqiang ahead of the G20 summit in Bali. Now, this Li is different from the Li that we had mentioned beforehand. So before we start dissecting this, it's important to note that this was only a 4-minute conversation between Albanese and Li. Nonetheless, it was an important one, given that the last such interaction between the leaders of the two countries happened 3 years ago when Scott Morrison met Li in 2019. Now, why is this 4-minute conversation significant? In short, it's a step in the right direction with regard to easing the diplomatic freeze between China and Australia, which had been unraveling throughout the tenure of the previous Australian PM, Scott Morrison. The tensions started to escalate when in 2020, Australia insisted on a WHO inquiry into the origins of COVID, which frustrated the Chinese government. Beijing in return slapped sanctions on $20 billion of Australian exports. Though Albanese and Lee's meeting was viewed as positive, it remains to be seen whether the two leaders will hold an official bilateral meeting in the coming future to iron out all these issues. Now, the current Australian PM also seems very keen on asking Chinese President Xi Jinping to drop trade sanctions that have hit major Australian industries of timber, coal, barley, meat, and wine. But it will be interesting to see how Albanese attempts to stabilize the relationship with China while keeping his image at home intact. Let's not forget that when Australian general elections took place in May this year, Albanese had to fight off allegations that he was soft on China regarding national security issues. Thank you so much for watching. This is Pia Krishnankutty for ThePrint. Do keep sending in your suggestions.